Major Case True Crime Investigations. In each episode, we delve into the details of significant criminal cases from around the world. Through meticulous research and narrative storytelling, we aim to uncover the truth behind these major cases.
In February 2009, a woman walked into a Nanning police station with a disturbing report. Her 3 younger sisters had vanished without a trace. The Cheen family had 4 daughters. The 3 youngest, aged 20, 22, and 24, lived in a residential complex called Jiazhou Huaju. The second sister lived alone. The third and fourth shared apartment 703. The night before their disappearance, the sisters had dinner together. Nothing seemed off. But the following morning, none of them could be reached. Their phones were off. Their apartment empty. Not a single personal item had been taken. When officers entered 703, they found no signs of forced entry. The place was tidy, undisturbed, as if no one had come home. But a small, dried stain in the bathroom caught their attention. Forensics confirmed it was human blood. One of the sisters. This wasn't a disappearance anymore. It was the beginning of a homicide investigation. And 703 was likely where it started. For days later, a group of construction workers noticed a foul smell near a dump site. They discovered 9 woven plastic bags, tightly sealed. Inside, human remains. Mutilated. Fresh. Brutal. DNA confirmed the worst. The 3 missing sisters were now confirmed victims of a gruesome triple homicide. 3 young women. Murdered. Dismembered. In the heart of a crowded city. The case sent shockwaves through Nanning. A special task force was assembled immediately. Investigators turned to the apartment complex, hoping for surveillance footage or witnesses. But there was a problem. There were no cameras. Not in the elevators. Not at the parking entrances. Not even at the front gate. Officers went door to door, asking questions. But 6 days had already passed. Most residents couldn't even recall what happened the day before. With nothing to work from, the investigation shifted to the sisters' personal lives. That's when the second problem emerged. Their social circles were vast. Over 3,000 contacts across the country. Dozens of QQ accounts. One sister had over 500 male contacts on just a single profile. Their phones contained thousands of numbers. At home, police found stacks of nightclub membership cards, 2 or 3 dozen at least. According to security guards, strange men often visited the apartment, some leaving late at night. The deeper the police dug, the more chaotic the picture became. For 68 days, officers interviewed nearly 30,000 people. Over 2,000 vehicles were checked. But none of it brought them closer to the killer. Fear began to spread across the city. 3 women murdered. Their bodies hacked to pieces. And still no suspect. The Ministry of Public Security classified the case as high priority. A national reward was announced, 100,000 yuan for any clue. Still, there were none. The break came unexpectedly. A college student stepped forward. He told police that the woven plastic bags used to conceal the bodies looked familiar. In fact, he had one just like it. Issued by his school to carry luggage during freshman registration. He handed it over. Forensics compared it to the bags found at the dump site. The result? A 99% match. The bags were unique cylindrical, heavy-duty, mass-issued by a single institution, Nanning Vocational and Technical College. That discovery narrowed the field dramatically. If the bags were only available to students from that school, it meant the killer likely had a connection there, maybe even still worked or studied on campus. Cross-referencing enrollment records with known addresses near the crime scene, investigators made a chilling connection. 2 years earlier, a student named Lan Xincheng had graduated from that very college. His current address? Apartment 709. Directly across the hall from the victim's unit 703. Lan Xincheng was 24. He worked for a home renovation firm. His background? Seemingly clean. A father in public service. A mother in business. Middle class. Stable. Unremarkable. He'd already been interviewed 8 times. Each time, he passed without raising suspicion. Teachers, classmates, even neighbors vouched for him. Quiet. Polite. Academically strong. One instructor even insisted it's impossible. He wasn't the kind of student to cause trouble. Everyone liked him. But now, things looked different. Maybe the killer had used one of Lan's bags. Maybe it was just coincidence. Or maybe it wasn't. Police decided to bring him in. April 25, 2009. Afternoon. Lan was taken into custody for questioning. From the start, Lan was calm, too calm. His composure was unsettling. But after 2 hours, a small crack appeared. An officer asked, casually, while you were at the vocational college, did you ever buy any personal supplies? Lan nodded. Yes. I bought things outside school. That was the opening they needed. The officer reached under the table, pulled out one of the woven cylindrical bags. Then came the real question. On February 10th, the night the sisters were killed, the next morning, you were late to work. Then you called in sick. For 3 days. How do you explain that? Lan tried to answer. But the more he spoke, the more tangled his story became. He contradicted himself. Details slipped. Excuses unraveled. Step by step, he walked himself into a corner. And finally, he broke. He confessed. Lan Xincheng was the man who murdered the 3 Qin sisters. At first, Lan Xincheng said he only intended to sexually assault the woman. But in the end, he killed all 3 sisters. The statement was blunt, flat, devoid of emotion. In the days leading up to the murders, Lan described feeling overwhelmed by work, by relationships, by isolation. He said the frustration built quietly, then violently. There was no partner, no outlet. So he stayed home, watching hours of pornography, DVDs and downloads, over and over. He even tried going out nightclubs, brothels. But when he got there, nothing happened. No response. No connection. Just emptiness. Then, one evening, while watching a film in his darkened apartment, Lan heard laughter in the hallway. He crept toward the door, looked out through the peephole. 2 figures passed by, 1 man, 1 woman. He recognized the girl instantly. She lived just across the hall. One of the Qin sisters. He watched as they went inside. Something shifted inside him. A fire, he said, that he couldn't put out. From that night on, every time he heard high heels in the hallway, Lan rushed to the door, pressed his eye to the peephole, watching, imagining, obsessing, until finally, on February 8th, he made a decision. He would act. He went shopping. bought a folding knife, a claw hammer, pepper spray, duct tape, and rope. He didn't have a plan. Only a target. And the tools to do something irreversible. February 10th. Around 8 p.m. Through the peephole, Lan watched again. Two of the Chin sisters, the younger two, entered their apartment. The door clicked shut behind them. He knew then. This was his moment. The plan began with a fuse box. Lan Xincheng slipped downstairs and cut the power to apartment 703. Inside, the Chin sisters were caught off guard. The youngest, the third sister, looked around the now dark room and told her sibling, "Maybe the circuit tripped. I'll go check." She stepped out. Her sister stayed behind. The apartment was dark, but the hallway was still lit. She left the front door open. That's when Lan made his move. He rushed in from the shadows, closed the door behind him. The fourth sister was sitting on the sofa. Before she could react, Lan sprayed pepper spray straight into her face. She screamed, kicked wildly. He covered her mouth, tried to muffle the noise. She kept fighting. So he stabbed her once in the leg. The pain silenced her. Lan bound her hands and feet. Just then, another knock at the door. The third sister had returned. She opened the door, but sensed something was wrong. She resisted, bracing herself in the doorway. Lan stabbed her, too. Dragged her inside. With both girls restrained, Lan moved them to the kitchen. He took the kitchen knives, just in case. Then, another knock. It was the second sister. She didn't live there, but occasionally visited. This time, she came with laundry, planning to use their washing machine. She had no idea what she was walking into. Lan opened the door. Did the same thing. Pulled her in. Bound her. Shut off all their phones. Now, all three sisters were in his control. Lan dragged the fourth sister into another room. He turned up the television to mask the noise. He tried to rape her, but she fought back. Refused. And that's when something inside him changed. He later told police, "I had already gone this far. I had tied them up. Stabbed them. I was going to prison for 30 or 40 years anyway. So, I killed them." He used what he had, a folding knife, a claw hammer. One by one, he murdered all three sisters, by stabbing, by bludgeoning. Then he shut off the TV, turned off the lights, waited in silence. When the hallway was empty, he began moving their bodies, one at a time, into his own apartment across the hall. He even taped over his neighbors' peepholes, just in case someone looked out. Afterward, he wiped down the crime scene. Took the victims' shoes, purses, and phones. Sprayed the room with perfume, trying to fake a lived-in scent as if no one had ever left. February 13th. Police knocked on doors, beginning their investigation. Inside apartment 709, Lan sat, still living with the bodies. That night, he bought a handsaw. He dismembered all three victims. Loaded the remains into barrel-shaped woven bags. Then used an elevator and electric scooter to transport the pieces to the back hills outside the city. By the time it was over, night had fallen. The smell was unbearable. So Lan bought a large dog. Partly to explain the odor to anyone who asked. Partly for company. Lan Xincheng knew it wouldn't last. He had just killed 3 women, tied them up, silenced them, dismembered their bodies. There was no escaping justice. Not forever. But before that day came, he wanted to see someone. One last person. Her name was Ma Miao. His ex-girlfriend from college. They met in 2006. He remembered her as gentle, patient. Even when he snapped at her or cursed in frustration, she never got angry. She would have done anything for me, he later said. They'd been together for about a year when he brought her home to meet his parents. That's when everything fell apart. Lan's father didn't like her. She doesn't smile, he said bluntly. Lan tried to explain maybe she was just self-conscious about her teeth. But his father wasn't moved. You don't even know how to pick a wife, he scolded. You have no judgment. The words cut deep. Lan broke up with her shortly after. Not because he stopped loving her, but because his father disapproved. That meant everything to him. For as long as he could remember, his parents had high hopes. They paid money to get him into the best schools. They expected results. And at first, he delivered. In primary school, he was always a class monitor. A standout. But things changed. By middle school, he started slipping. Teachers called him average. Peers said the same. His dream was to become a police officer. He set his sights on the Guangxi Police College. His parents supported him. But on exam day, he came up over 80 points short. Instead, he was placed in a vocational college in Nanjing, studying interior design, a field he had no passion for. His parents were disappointed. Again. 3 years of college came and went. Nothing remarkable. Nothing memorable. Then he met Ma Miao. And for a moment, it felt like life had turned a corner. But after that breakup, it never quite recovered. Summer 2007. Lan graduated. His first job? A cabinet company on Guqing Road, Nanjing. The pay, just 400 yuan a month. Not enough to live on. He still had to ask his parents for money. In 2008, he changed jobs. A new interior design firm. Better pay. Longer hours. Still miserable. He dated a co-worker Liu Hua for 2 months. But she wasn't like Ma Miao. She didn't indulge his moods. Didn't let him shout without consequence. So the relationship ended. By December 2008, Lan was spiraling. Freshly single. Distracted. Unfocused. Depressed. His parents were furious. His father nagged constantly. Told him he was making the house feel unbearable. Every visit, the same script. You're getting fat. No more meat. No sleeping in. Do something useful. The pressure mounted. Lan began dreading going home. He wasn't crazy. He was disappointed. In life. In himself. In how nothing ever measured up to what was expected. And now, with blood on his hands, he wasn't running. He just wanted to see her. One last time. February 4th, 2009. 6 days before the murders. Lan Xincheng wrote a journal entry on his QQ blog. It would be his last. Mom, Dad, I'm coming home tomorrow. I miss you both. But I feel this crushing pressure. My thoughts are a mess tonight. Finally, I can stop working. Just breathe. Enjoy the evening. Suddenly I want a drink. I want to be a bad kid. Then I come home, and cry. Quietly. I'm tired. I sleep. Dad, Mom, do you know why I feel this way? Because I'm not a good child. I haven't fulfilled your wishes. He talked about feeling lost. About women. About expectations. I know you mean well, he wrote. But I'm scared every time you ask. Do you have a girlfriend yet? What's she like? Bring her home so we can see. But he couldn't. I haven't found someone who makes me feel happy, he admitted. This world isn't simple anymore. There are traps everywhere. He wrote about women who asked for houses. Cars. Those women aren't real, he said. I could never bring someone like that home. He still believed in something better. She should have ideals. Talent. A good, kind heart. A sense of responsibility. But women like that? They're rare now. Maybe they still exist. But I'm just not that lucky. At the time, Lan was spiraling. The loneliness. The silence. He said his apartment felt cold. Empty. To distract himself, he turned to porn. His confession described it plainly. His computer was full of adult videos. He watched them, obsessively, over and over in the days before the murders. And then, something shifted. He began fantasizing. Not about pleasure. About control. He began thinking about rape. And once the thought took hold, it never left. After the murders, something unexpected happened. Lan called his ex-girlfriend Ma Miao. The one he had loved in college. The one he left because of his father. To his surprise, she agreed to meet. They sat face to face. And he said something strange. No matter what happens to me, promise me you'll take care of my parents. She was confused. Asked what he meant. But he didn't answer. Still, after that meeting, something rekindled. They got back together. Quickly. Quietly. As if nothing had changed. Lan knew time was running out. He knew the walls were closing in. So he made a decision. Every time they slept together, he refused to use protection. He said it was on purpose. I just wanted to leave something behind, he would later confess. Something for my parents. 2 months later, when police finally arrested him, Ma Miao was pregnant. Lan Xincheng was ordinary. An ordinary face. An ordinary degree. An ordinary job. But he once carried the hopes of his parents, the gentleness of a girlfriend, and a dream of becoming a police officer. After the age of 22, everything began to fall apart. He was no longer needed, no longer seen, no longer enough. In the end, he had a choice: to fade or to destroy. He chose the latter. This wasn't a complicated murder. There was no long-held grudge. No intricate plan. Just a man collapsing under the weight of his own silence. He wasn't insane. He knew exactly what he'd done. He knew he'd be caught. And still, he called his ex. He left her with a child, hoping it might somehow balance the scales. But some things can't be undone. And some silences turn violent when no one's listening.
Thank you for listening to Major Case, True Crime Investigations. If you found this episode compelling, please subscribe and leave a review on your preferred podcast platform. Stay tuned for our next episode where we will explore another intriguing case.